Buying a bike costs just $300 or $400, but learning to ride, it costs over $800. Isn't cycling a must-have skill for primary school students nationwide? Why are there still many adults today who have to pay to learn how to ride a bike? According to an Ipsos survey, about 1/3 of the global population doesn't know how to ride a bike. And among those who can, 34 people in China don't ride even once a week. Is riding a bike really that difficult? And how exactly does it maintain its balance? Hello everyone, this is Kanchai. Today we use this video to explain the bicycle in full detail. This is the world's first verifiable bicycle. However, at that time, it could be called neither a bicycle nor a pedal bike because it didn't have any pedals at all. The rider had to push off the ground with their feet like this to move forward. Its German inventor called it the Laufmaschine, which means running machine. It wasn't until 1861 that the Michaud father and son in France built a running machine with pedals. This time, the pedals were attached to the front wheel. It truly became a pedal bike. But at what cost? For a bike without a chain, the only way to increase speed was to increase the diameter of the front wheel. If you wanted to get off mid-ride, you would most likely end up falling off. In 1874, the Englishman H.J. Lawson came up with a stroke of genius, connecting the two wheels with a chain and sprockets, allowing the rear wheel to drive the bike forward. In 1886, J.K. Starley introduced ball bearings and brakes and made the front and rear wheels the same size. Finally, the bicycle became a true bicycle, a two-wheeler, with two wheels of equal size, with each wheel performing its own role, the front half. This part is primarily responsible for steering. To change direction, we use the handlebars to turn the front fork, which controls the orientation of the front axle and wheel. The rear half of the bike is mainly responsible for propulsion, as we pedal power is transmitted through the crank sprockets, the chain, the freewheel, and the rear axle driving the bicycle forward. The brake levers on the handlebars also correspond to different wheels. The left lever controls the rear brake and the right controls the front. The core of a bicycle lies in its two wheels. They are so stable that a bike can even stay upright and move on its own. For instance, if you give a bicycle a firm push even without a rider, it can coast for a considerable distance by itself. While coasting, it doesn't just veer off course. It even appears to stabilize its own handlebars. Over the past century, countless scientists have racked their brains over this secret of self-stability. In 1910, physicist Arnold Sommerfeld and mathematician Felix Klein proposed the gyroscopic effect. The wheels of a moving bike act like two spinning tops rotating at high speed. When the bike tilts, gyroscopic rigidity resists the change in orientation. Meanwhile, precession helps the bike steer into the lean to prevent falling. This is exactly why it's hardest to stay balanced at low speeds. However, in 1970, a chemist named David Jones debunked this theory by building a bike without any gyroscopic effect. He argued that the trail or caster was the real key. The distance from this point to the tire's contact patch is the trail. As long as it is positive, it provides stability. In other words, as long as the front fork is angled forward, the handlebars will naturally turn in the same direction as the lean, thereby bringing the bicycle's center of mass back to its original position. It sounds perfect in theory, but in 2011, scientists built a new kind of bicycle and published a paper in Science debunking the first two theories. They argued that neither the gyroscopic effect nor the trail are necessary for self-stability, as long as the bicycle's geometry and mass distribution are correctly aligned. Many people thought they were talking nonsense, but they didn't just prove it on paper, they actually built the bike, and it worked perfectly. It proves that within a certain speed range, a bike's geometry and mass distribution will cause lean and steering to couple automatically. When the bike leans, it automatically steers slightly in the direction of the lean, shifting the wheels back under the center of mass, allowing the bike to ride itself. So even without a rider, if you give it a push, it can coast on its own for a while. But if it's too slow, this self-stabilization fails and the bike will eventually tip over. Since a bicycle can be so stable on its own, why is it that humans make it unstable? The problem lies with the handlebars. Most beginners instinctively try to grip the bars tight and keep them straight, thinking that leads to stability. But does that actually work? Not really. Take a wide turn, for example. To turn left, you'd naturally think you just need to steer the bars to the left. But in reality, to make that left turn, everyone unconsciously counter-steers slightly to the right first. This leans the bike to the left, creating a new balance point through body positioning, which allows you to follow through with a turn. But beginners don't realize this. Many can only ride in a straight line and are afraid to turn. But what about just going straight? Do you still need to move the handlebars? The Veritasium team once conducted experiments on this research. They locked the handlebars and had experienced riders try to see how far they could go. Some tried pedaling furiously, hoping speed would generate enough inertia. Others tried to regain balance by swinging their bodies wildly. but the results were consistently. No matter how fast the speed or how much the body contorted, the bike's balance could only be maintained for a few seconds at most. The same principle applies to unicycles and balance beams. You probably played a game like this as a child, balancing a stick or an umbrella upright on your palm. You must constantly micro-adjust your hand to keep the center of gravity above the support point. This prevents it from falling. It's known as the inverted pendulum principle. Similarly, bicycle stability comes from constant micro-adjustments of the handlebars. The bike regains balance through a series of counter-steering movements. We all do this instinctively, but few can explain it. And since beginners can't figure this out intuitively, it's naturally difficult to learn. Theoretically, shouldn't cycling be easier to learn as you get older? Then why do so many adults pay for lessons? According to a cross-sectional study published by Levison et al., athletic performance generally improves from childhood through adolescence, peaking around puberty before declining with age. Adults are taller than children. A higher center of gravity makes the bike harder to stabilize. Physiologically, adults find it harder to learn than children, and psychologically, adults have a greater fear of falling. Many of today's students and office workers have physical fitness comparable to the elderly. A single fall can be serious. Combined with the fear of looking foolish, they tend to grip the handlebars too tightly, leaving their whole body tense. If you already know how to ride, find a bike, specifically a shared bike with stiff steering, to see why beginners struggle. Your legs strain, your hands lack control, and eventually even you will fall. As children, we had open spaces, friends, and the luxury of falling over and over again. As adults, we can only fill those gaps with cold hard cash, with a coach by your side telling you to look ahead instead of at your feet, encouraging you after every failed attempt, saying you're almost there as they push your bike, helping you move forward inch by inch. We are simply constructing in our own way a low-risk practice ground to face the unknown. Many people pay for lessons, but they aren't actually buying instruction. They are buying something far more expensive. A safety net if you try to learn by gripping the handlebars too tight. The bike's wobbling will surely tell you it's useless. The moment you truly learn to ride isn't when you master some complex physics, but when you finally relax and dare to let the bike move forward. You think you're learning to ride, but actually, you're learning a universal skill. Don't try to stifle the world. Just let it start rolling first. And then you'll realize some shared bike handlebars are still so stiff they'll make you question everything.